You know my story, right? This woman here is a product of God's mercy. Life gave me so much lemons, but I choose to turn my lemons to lemon. I was born into a polygamous family. That alone is depressing. That was not always there when I needed him. I was born from a community where the female gender was overlooked. My mom was a second wife. She gave birth to the first daughter. Everyone was like, okay, welcome. When she gave birth to my elder sister, the second lady or female child, there was a kind of indifference. Everyone frowned like, again? Then she gave birth to me. The atmosphere was a kind of, will I say, feel of chaos or something, because there was no celebration. Unfortunately for my mom, she gave birth to another girl, my younger sister. Then my dad abandoned her in the hospital. When I had this story as a child, that alone was depressing for me. I came from a community with that kind of philosophy that I was made to believe that I was not going to achieve anything in life except my husband helps me. I was made to believe I was not going to go to school except my husband sponsors me. I was made to believe that I don't have a life or a voice of my own until I'm assisted by a man. So in that kind of community where women's voice are siphoned, the female gender is overlooked. And they believe that for you to become something, a man has to lift you. The man is the main person. The female gender is nothing to write home about. So I had this mindset that I could only become something if a man can help me. Unfortunately for me, when I was 8 years, my parents got divorced. This was very painful for me because I began to develop low self-esteem. I became so depressed. I began to develop low self-esteem among my peers back then in school. And so my mom took care of me and my siblings as a single mother. And then a few years later, she passed away. She too was always depressed as a result of this same thing, philosophy, the mindset, and everything. A few years later, my mom passed. She died. And so that automatically meant I became a caregiver to my siblings. It was horrible for me. And what that means is that I will have to do what mom was doing. I will have to go to the farm. But because I had this passion for my family, so I took it upon me to be the one to take the position of leadership in my family, to take care of my siblings. And so what that means is that I went to job, with people farm. I will have to go to, the stream to fetch periwinkles, hunt for periwinkles, fetch water leaf, and, sell and all that. I never had a teenage flavor. Life stabbed me. Life punched me. Life struck me, Then again, something happened. Just 1 year after my mom dismissed, I decided to visit my uncle, explaining to him. I said, Uncle, if there's anything he could do or he can do for me so I can start up a business. And unfortunately for me, I noticed something. I realized he began to talk me into getting married to one guy that came in to speak to him that he wants to marry me. I felt so disappointed because I was thinking this man would tell the guy, no, my daughter is too young or my niece is too young to get married. Besides, she's just been bereaved of her mother. I want to help her. But he never said so. Instead, he was trying to talk me into agreeing to that marriage at that age. I felt so depressed. The next morning, I ran back to the village to continue my labor. I would wait people farm to get them pay me on daily basis for me to be able to feed myself and my siblings. Life stabbed me. I can remember very well, vividly, that there was a time for a year or so that we were soaking gari. There was nothing like rice. There was nothing like beans. It was like using palm kernel to soak the gari. That was our meal then. Then when I was 20, I fell in love with the first guy that told me he was going to die for me. He was going to give his life for me. When I eventually accepted, I said, okay, when we got talking, in fact, I visited him, we got talking. And I began to tell him my story. I began to tell him how far I have gone, what I have gone through. And then I saw in his face, he became so scared or something. The next thing he told me, don't worry, I'll come and see you, excuse me. And then he left me. He said, let me get something. And so I sat waiting for him. For 4 hours, this guy never returned. And so I took a walk to look for him. And so I sighted him. Our eyes, both of our eyes, both sighted each other. And he sighted me, I sighted him too. And so he fled. Then I knew that he felt I was a burden to him. And then I made up my mind that I was going to be successful in life. I made up my mind I was not going to be a burden to anybody. I made up my mind from that day that I was not going to ask anybody for help anywhere except God. Then that relationship was over. Then I fell in love again with another guy. I gave life another chance. He said to me he wants to die for me. He was going to give his life for me. I know that. As usual, I said, okay, let's go. And, we got engaged. And the next thing, he began to abuse me physically. He began to beat me up. And it was like, he would tell me, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen again. The next thing, he wants to kill me. And so I saw that my life was at risk. I left that relationship. Life punched me again. Life struck me again. So the next thing, after some time, I decided to give destiny another chance. I fell in love again with this Christian holy brother. We were so much in love with each other. After a long time of waiting, being supportive, being nice, everything you can think of having a perfect relationship was in that relationship. There was nothing lacking in that relationship. We were friends. And so I was hoping that at least I could get married to him because he was filled. He was spirit-filled. The next thing, he sent me one long letter after a year or two of our relationship. It was this holy relationship. There was no kind of sex or anything involved in it, but it was a pure relationship. He sent me one long letter. Hey, Sister Jane, I know you've been nice. You're such a prayer warrior. You're such a nice girl. You've been like a mother to me. However, I'm sorry. I cannot get married to you because God has revealed someone else to me. All that night, something left me. That night, I went back. I sensed the Holy Spirit telling me, praise me. And so I rolled on the floor. I held on my bed. I held on my bed. I said, Father, I thank you. If this is happening to me, it means it wasn't meant for me. If this guy is meant for me, after all the input I've made in that relationship, and there was no defilement of any form, then that means this guy is not for me. Life struck me. I began to blame myself. I began to say negative words to myself. I said to myself, I'm not enough. I am foolish. I'm this and this. I said, I painted myself black. I felt that I was a problem to me. I felt that my light was never going to shine again. My light was dim. I said a lot of things to me. And then another page of my life unfolded. The Lord helped me. I got married.